Deadly weapons, shooting, explosions. For most of us, these are unpleasant things linked to danger, death, and destruction. However, there are places where, surprisingly, destruction can mean life, where negative events related to military activity can have positive effects on the landscape. One such place can be found here in Slovakia. Far away, in the west of Slovakia, between the forested hills of the Little Carpathians and the Morava River, is the Záhorie region, a picturesque landscape of sand and endless pine forests, but also of water and wetlands. Yet, at the beginning of the last century, a military district was established here, which is now the largest in Slovakia. A forbidden kingdom with its own rules, which one can only enter with special permission. Like any true kingdom, this one has its own secrets and hidden treasures, and also its faithful inhabitants, visitors, and guardians. Záhorie Military District is situated in the central and eastern part of the Záhorie lowlands. A small part also stretches into the Little Carpathian Mountains. Its current size is almost 28,000 hectares. It has been used for training the armed forces since the beginning of the last century. Záhorie Military District is divided into 3 distinct parts. In the northern part, there is the military training area with the same name, Záhorie. Kuchyňa Military Training Area covers the southern part between Malacky and Rohožnik. It also includes the well-known military airport and aircraft shooting range. Turecký Vrch Military Training Area stretches into the forests of the Little Carpathians near Jablanové, Pernek, and Lizorno. Záhorie Military District covers the largest area of Aeolian sands in Slovakia, with a total area of more than 570 square kilometers. For thousands of years, this landscape has been modeled by natural forces of wind and water into today's unique landscape. Running water and standing water alternate with dry sand dunes. Thanks to its extraordinary habitat diversity, in a relatively small area, there is a high number of species and communities with different ecological requirements. The main item of interest for me in Záhorie Military District are the extensive aeolian sand habitats. Most of them were afforested a long time ago, but some of them remained as shooting ranges. These are the forest steppe habitats used for military activities. And this mixture of vast forests, forest steppe habitats, wetlands, and running water provides good conditions for animals and birds. Hoopoes are doing well on the shooting ranges, and their voices resound from all directions. The abundance of game animals delights the hunters. But these large herbivores also help to maintain the rare plant communities on the sand dunes. Their grazing slows down the overgrowing by trees. Therefore, the resemblance to an African savanna is definitely not accidental. Instead of lions, though, the final link in the food chain is man. The Black Stork returns to its nest every year from its wintering sites in Africa. Only about 10 pairs of them nest within the whole military district. Here they find quiet places to raise their young, thanks also to restricted public access. The European green lizard also has its home on the shooting range. The lizards find almost ideal conditions here: enough sunshine, shelter, and tasty food. In spring, during the breeding season, one can meet lizards almost with every step. The male carefully watches his female partner to prevent her from mating with other males. The larva of the antlion needs bare sand. It digs a small pit in the sand in which it waits and watches for its prey.
Vo vojenskom obvode Záhorie sa nachádza unikátny komplex.
In Záhorie Military District, there is a unique complex of habitats of community interest known as Pennonic Inland Dunes. Specific plant communities and species depend on these sand dunes. As an example, I would like to mention an annual species from the cabbage family, shepherd's cress. It is critically threatened in the whole of Slovakia, and it can be found only within the Borská Nížina lowland.
V rámci celého Slovenska a nachádza sa iba na Borskej nížine.
In May, another rare plant blooms on the shooting ranges, Miserium. Butterflies descend on it from afar to feed on its sweet nectar. Among the first is the swallowtail. More than 500 butterfly species live here on the shooting ranges. For many of them, this is their last refuge. They have almost disappeared from the surrounding landscape due to the use of pesticides and loss of habitat. The rare large blue is one of the species of community interest. Its larvae live in symbiosis with tiny yellow ants. A regular inhabitant of the shooting ranges is the green toad. Its tadpoles can be found in the shallow pools at the bottom of old, abandoned sand pits. The occasional movement of military vehicles keeps this hatching site in an optimal state. Without them, the pools would overgrow with vegetation, and the green toads would lose their most important breeding habitat. Forest habitats cover almost 3/4 of the military district, in a wide range of forest communities, from wet alder fens to dry pine oak woods. The largest area is covered by artificially planted pine forests that have been cultivated here for several centuries. On the other hand, the last remnants of the natural forests have been preserved in the buffer zones of the shooting ranges, as well as on the shooting ranges themselves. Our biggest beetle also lives here, the stag beetle. Some males can reach up to 7 centimeters in length. Once, Záhorie was covered by forests that were much sparser than today. This open woodland on sand dunes was dominated by oaks and scattered Scots pine. This shooting range is a typical example of how most of Záhorie probably once looked. If this kind of management continues here into the future, within 50 or maybe 100 years, we will see how Záhorie really looked. Old hollow trees are full of life. Wild bees roost in the hollows along with birds and bats. The rhinoceros beetle is quite common here. Its larvae feed on the dead roots of trees. Turecký Vrch Military Training Area is located in the southeastern part of Záhorie Military District, in the area of deciduous forests of the Little Carpathians. Unlike the rest of the military district, this area is typically just these deciduous forests, with oak and beech the dominant tree species. Here, there are some of the last remnants of natural forests. In some places, they almost look like virgin forests. The fact that these forests are located within the buffer zones of shooting ranges at Turecký Vrch means that they are not utilized for commercial forestry. They are not being logged, and the forest can evolve naturally. Thanks to this special regime, large, beautiful old trees have been preserved here in such numbers that you cannot find in the surrounding forests managed for commercial forestry. These old trees form a vital habitat for many rare animal species. In deciduous forests at Turecký Vrch, we meet our biggest snake, the Aesculapian snake. It hunts for small mammals, nestlings, or eggs, for which it can also climb into the trees. The antennae of the male Rosalia longicorn are longer than its body. Its sharp coloration provides it with perfect camouflage in its natural habitat, on old beech trunks. Its larvae also live there, helping to release nutrients from the dead wood to the soil. In rain and at dusk, the fire salamander creeps out of its shelter. Its bright color is a clear warning to its enemies. What I like most in Záhorie Military District are the wetlands and small watercourses. There are several streams flowing freely for most of their length. They are still in a natural state. They create picturesque small floodplains, sneak holes. The streams meander. They have sandy beds. This is a very nice landscape, and it is these places I like most. On the banks of the Rue De Veau River, it is as if the march of time has stopped. For centuries, it has been slowly meandering among the sand dunes. In soft sand, its waters flow almost noiselessly. The peace and silence are disturbed by nothing but the singing of birds and the croaking of frogs. There are only a few places in Slovakia and in Záhorie where human influence is almost invisible. Such places include the wetlands in the depressions among the sand dunes. The wetlands have attracted me for as long as I can remember, and I was wondering why, and it is mainly because of their beauty of different life forms and different shapes. We could say that they are our tropical rainforests. Indeed, of all the habitat types that we have in Slovakia, the wetlands and floodplain forests most closely resemble the tropical rainforest. I like them just for their wild beauty, for their freedom. Life in the wetland goes on its own simple way, no matter what we people think about it or how we would like it to be. This unique world of wetlands was here thousands of years before the first people came into this landscape. It connects us with our own past, with our own history, and I would be very happy if they are still here thousands of years after we will have disappeared. Since 2002, the Slovak Republic has been participating in the Life Nature program, which focuses on enhancement of the European network of nature protection areas, Natura 2000. Its main objective is to protect the most seriously threatened habitats, plants, and animal species. In 2006, the European Commission, under its Life Nature program, endorsed a project called Restoration and Management of Sand Dune Habitats in Záhorie Military Training Area. For nature conservation, Záhorie Military District represents an exceptionally diverse and valuable area. So far, we have found over 20 habitats of community interest and 8 habitats of national interest. Within the Life Sands project, there have been restoration works on 3 project sites in the sand dune and dry heath habitats. These habitats were threatened by gradually being overgrown by Scots pine and the accumulation of organic matters, which is rich in nutrients. Native plant and animal species depending on open sandy habitats were being suppressed and displaced by ruderal plants and common weeds. Military shooting ranges require regular maintenance. Therefore, one of the main objectives of the LIFE project was to reconcile military use with nature conservation requirements. The pines have been removed from over 300 hectares of the overgrown area. Both military staff and conservationists are satisfied with the results. Habitat conditions have been restored for rare sand-loving species. At the same time, the military capacity of the shooting ranges has been improved. Military districts here in Slovakia, as in other countries, were established first of all to meet the requirements of the defense of the state. The Slovak Ministry of Defense is also aware of the importance of military areas for the public and for nature conservation, as well as the need for their full utilization in the future. We definitely want to provide access to open up the military forests for civilian visitors. We don't want to insist on the doctrine of the past, that military forests can only be used by the military. Naturally, our overriding interest is the utilization of military districts for the needs of the defense sector and, of course, the safety of civilian visitors. Whether you like it or not, our society will still need the Army for many more years. And the Army will always need its training areas. In Záhorie, we have succeeded in combining military use of the area with its protection. Ordinary people can come here to collect mushrooms, ride their bikes, or just walk in the forest. For those of us who live here, Záhorie Military District remains our little kingdom. Its treasures are well hidden in dense pine forests, in the labyrinth of sand dunes and wetlands. The Forbidden Kingdom doesn't have a king. It is simply up to us to rule it with wisdom and justice.